Now on KGW News, neighbors jump into action when an apartment building goes up in flames.
My first instinct was just trying to get everybody out.
And bumped from surgery.
That's frustrating to be vaccinated and lose my spot.
More hospitals delay non-emergency procedures to make way for COVID patients. Plus, fears about being back in the classroom.
What if I infect one of my kids? Because I had to teach.
How some immunocompromised teachers are pushing for more options to stay safe. Hello, and thank you for joining us for KGW News at 11. I'm Laurel Porter. We start tonight with 3 things to know about the coronavirus in Oregon. Number 1, we saw a slight decrease in the number of coronavirus-related hospitalizations today. The Oregon Health Authority reported 1,120 people in the hospital with COVID. That's 23 fewer than yesterday. As you can see from the graph, though, hospitalizations are still very high compared to the rest of the pandemic. Number 2, the city of Portland told employees today they would need to get vaccinated or face being fired. This applies to every person working for the city. The deadline is October 18th. Employees can apply for either medical or religious exemptions. And number 3, the National Guard is helping more hospitals around the state deal with the influx of patients. Today, 46 National Guard members joined OHSU. They'll be working checkpoints in the hospital and helping to support patient care. OHSU says it is seeing a shortage of staffed ICU beds like never before. It expects its ICU to be over capacity, and it's reducing non-urgent care and moving around staff to try to respond. Even though hospitals around Oregon are getting some help with staffing, the number of open beds continues to shrink, which means some are not getting surgeries they need. Mary Metcalf is one of those people. She lives in Longview and was scheduled for major jaw surgery tomorrow at Legacy Emmanuel in Portland. She and her family are vaccinated, but she was told the surgery is off for at least 2 weeks because the hospital has no room for her overnight stay after the operation.
But it would be hard to say I don't have some unhealthy feelings. Like I feel a little resentment. I think that would be the right word. I'm like, dang, this was my spot in the hospital. I've been, sitting here waiting in pain, hungry. And that is frustrating to have it almost feel like somebody cut me in line, I guess would be. So that's very frustrating. But again,
Mary said she's lost 30 pounds over the last few months because it's too painful for her to chew. She's living mostly on smoothies. Meanwhile, school districts are getting ready to welcome students back inside schools over the next few weeks. The kids will be required to wear masks, and teachers have to be vaccinated. The rules have become a major source of contention at school board meetings around the area. In Beaverton tonight, Mike Benner shows us how one group held their own separate meeting.
What it will actually do to our children in our communities.
One man voices concerns about critical race theory. Another woman speaks out against masking kids in the classroom.
We need to look at the future, and masking our children is not the answer.
Dozens rallied outside Beaverton School District offices Monday night because they weren't allowed to testify in front of the school board.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Beaverton School Board meeting for August 30th, 2021.
As you can see here, the school board met virtually Monday evening, much to the dismay of this crowd and organizer Jeanette Shada, who ran for the school board and lost.
A large group of us, are tired of the school board shutting us out of public comment, live public comment.
As it turns out, the crowd tired of being shut out by the school board was almost shut out by protesters.
We are out here to counter protest some organized activity.
Jen Burleton is part of a group in support of masks, inclusivity, and critical race theory.
I do support the need for more comprehensive education about the true racial history of this country, and critical race theory is one of the ways in which we can do that.
The Beaverton community, nowhere near united with the start of the school year, a little more than a week away. We did reach out to the Beaverton School District to get its take on people's frustrations regarding not being able to give real-time comments to the board. A spokesperson tells us that the board values the opinions of everyone, and that's why they've been accepting written comments throughout the pandemic. The spokesperson also says that as the board continues to operate in this virtual environment, they'll be looking at ways for people to give real-time comments to the board. I'm Mike Benner for KGW News.
In Gresham, 2 people are recovering in the hospital tonight after a fire broke out at the Lumina Apartments on West Powell Boulevard. Witnesses say a woman was hurt after falling from a second-story stairway as she evacuated. A man was hurt trying to catch her. Firefighters credit other neighbors who helped get people out.
Me and him, we both run over there. His girlfriend's calling 911. We went go knocking on the other doors, and by the time we came back out, it was already just up in blaze.
The fire burned 8 units and did smoke damage to 4 more. Investigators are working to figure out what started the fire. And fire crews also battled a fire in the industrial area of northwest Portland today. It happened at the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers property off Highway 30 about 2 this afternoon. The highway is reopened now. It appears the fire started in the workshop on the property. That building was destroyed along with a second, and a third was damaged before crews were able to get a handle on the flames. Now to the latest on what was Hurricane Ida. Destruction is widespread, and more than 1 million people are without power after Ida roared ashore along the Louisiana coast on Sunday as a powerful Category 4 storm. New video shows roofs being blown off buildings as gusts topped 140 miles an hour. Ida eventually weakened to a tropical depression, but at least 2 people have been killed from the storm. Rescuers are still working tonight to save everyone trapped by floodwaters. Let's bring in meteorologist Joe Ranieri now with the latest on Ida's track. Joe.
Hey there, Laurel. Here's the latest in terms of the intensity of the storm. Like you said, it's been downgraded to a tropical depression, but even though it's been downgraded, it's still showing a lot of destruction over the next couple of days. Here's a look where you can see some of those heavy bands of some yellows and some oranges. There's a chance we could be seeing some thunderstorms out of this, and maybe even some tornadoes spawning as well as this storm continues to wreak havoc over parts of the Gulf of Mexico states, Mississippi and Alabama, and it's going to be moving through over to the East Coast over the next couple of days. But you notice its track, it's basically showing it's going to be right around tropical depression wind speeds over the next couple of days. Wind speeds at 35 miles per hour. Now here's one model. This is the spaghetti track that basically shows just where it's expected to go over the next couple of days. Well, it's going to be moving over to Mississippi and Alabama over the next 24 hours before it starts to move over to parts of Massachusetts. Between now and then, and the end of the week, we could be looking at rainfall amounts anywhere from 6 to maybe 8 inches from parts of Mississippi all the way into Massachusetts. Laurel?
Thank you, Joe. We'll see you for our forecast in just a few minutes. Some people in the Pacific Northwest are keeping a close tab on the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. Keely Chalmers spoke with a Portland woman who is from one of the hardest hit areas, the town of Houma, Louisiana.
Imagine watching these images of your hometown being torn apart by a hurricane. It's what Portland resident Jane Claire Karen did this weekend. Karen grew up in Houma, Louisiana, and still has family there.
And the eye passed pretty much right over Houma. So my understanding is there's some pretty significant damage that occurred in that area.
Video shows winds uprooting huge trees and tearing roofs off buildings. Most of Karen's family evacuated before the storm hit, but she's still worried.
Well, yesterday was a tough day.
Karen moved to Portland just before Katrina, but continues to stay close to her roots. She's co-founder of Mystic Crew of Nimbus, which organizes the annual Mardi Gras parade in Portland. But for the past 48 hours, her mind has been down south and on Ida.
When it goes right through your hometown, I can't help but feel very worried for everything that's there.
Yeah, I have seen those images, yes.
Pedro Lumanico is also watching the hurricane closely. The director of Oregon State University's Wave Research Lab, he knows as the climate and our oceans warm, hurricanes will get stronger, faster, which is exactly what he saw happen with Ida.
It was going over a very heated mass of hot water, if you like, in the Gulf of Mexico. That increases the intensity of the hurricane significantly.
Lomanico says his research will help engineers build stronger structures to withstand these mega storms.
When we see these images, we try to replicate the same or similar situations.
I feel calmer now.
As for Karen, she says she's feeling a bit more relief. She texted with her family and they are all safe, but she knows others might not be and will need help.
I think it's going to be a long road to getting everything back to pre-hurricane levels. So I know that there's going to be a lot of communities and families and individuals that are going to be in need. So if you see any kind of, getting emotional, if you see any kind of call for help or call for action, consider doing so.
Keely Chalmers, KGW News.
One Washington nonprofit is doing what it can to help. Impact Northwest is in New Orleans tonight. The group is trained for a technical search and rescue, which means it's prepared to help those who didn't evacuate in time.
I know this is going to sound a little cliche, but it's not about us, it's about them. Pretty much we just focus on us, make sure that we're okay so that we can go out and help them.
Olivia says her crew is an assessment team. Once they know more about the needs in New Orleans, there are other volunteers with Impact Northwest ready to hop on a plane and join them.